Hi everyone, it's Dora here. Today I want to talk about downward facing dog. So there are many ways to do a downward facing dog. You might hear many things in a yoga class as to how you should do your downward facing dog. And in my opinion, I think there are always many ways to do a pose. So what I want to show you today are some options or things that you might consider or you might want to pay attention to as you come to downward facing dog. Oftentimes we might get comfortable in a certain pose or the way that we do a certain pose, and we kind of just come back to it over and over again, which is fine, but I think it's always nice to experience a particular pose in different ways and see how, just to explore the potential of a particular pose, even one that you've been doing for forever. So in this video, you might hear me talk about how we should ground the hands and the feet and the pathway of energy or weight-bearing pathway. If you're not sure what I'm talking about here, go back to my previous videos. I talk about the hands and the feet in more detail, so definitely check them out. But otherwise, let's try it out. First, we're going to come onto hands and knees and find tabletop position. All right, so usually here, our shoulders are over the wrists, hips are over the knees. We're going to walk the hands a couple of inches forward and then start to shift the weight forward so that now shoulders are over the wrists and you're in like a low plank position here. So notice if you're dropping into your low back. If so, start to hug the belly in towards the spine. From here, we're going to already start to notice grounding into the points of the hands. And the points of the hands, as you will find in more detail in a previous video of mine, we're grounding down into the base of the fingers, into the pads of the hands. But we're going to keep that space in the middle of the palm. So a bit of a suction cup action here with the hands. It can gently also grip into the finger pads and create this suction cup action in the fingers as well. And start to already notice the pathway of energy traveling, perhaps from your hands up the arms or the other way down. Either way, we want to feel a nice flow of energy. So from your hands all the way up into your arms and shoulders, around the shoulder blade, and eventually finding the way through the collarbones and into the sternum. So you want to find a clear pathway of energy, basically from the bottom of your hands to your sternum. Keep the belly engaged, breathe. And then we're going to extend one foot back and then the other, coming to full plank. So this is a good place to start. So this is usually how I measure out the distance between hands and feet in your downward dog. Now we're going to start with knees soft, send the hips back and up, coming to your downward facing dog. And feel free to make any tiny adjustments now that you're here. And if this is your first downward dog for the day, you can gently walk out the legs and just add some movement here. And then eventually you can allow your body to settle in. Coming into, say, your most familiar downward facing dog for now, and we'll start there. Take a breath in. And I'm going to start to find the points of the hands, again, finding that pathway of energy all the way to the sternum. And we're going to find the points of the feet. And the points of the feet are your heels, your pinky toe mounts, and your big toe mounts. So we're grounding down into all of those points. Now for most of us, our heels may be lifted off the ground. That's okay. We can still imagine sending energy through the heels. Now we want to picture the energy coming from the tops of the legs all the way down into those points of the feet. So clear pathways in the upper body and the lower body, traveling into the points of contact into the earth through our hands and feet. All right, now we're going to keep drawing the navel towards the spine. Deep breaths. From here, we're going to start to bend into the knees. You can bend quite deeply into the knees. Now, as you do so, can you start to draw the belly towards the thighs? They may touch or maybe get real close to the thighs. Find this length along the spine as you do this. Now, can we keep the spine nice and long as we begin to melt the heels towards the ground, straightening out the legs? Deep breaths here. Now, notice if you're really dropping into the chest. If so, can we find equal opening along the chest and the upper back? Continue to ground down from the tops of the arms into the hands and the tops of the legs into the feet. Steady breathing. All right. Now from here, I'm going to add another layer. I'm going to shift slightly forward. We're going to bend the elbows out to the sides. We're going to wrap them under as you lengthen the arms, coming back to downward dog. Notice what muscles are engaging as you do this. You probably feel the muscles right beneath the underarms here starting to switch on. So let's try this again. Shifting slightly forward, bending the elbows out to the sides, and then wrap them in as you lengthen. Breathe. Lengthening along the spine. Now again, finding that equal opening across the chest and upper back as you maintain all the muscles that we've activated so far. And then you might gently drop the head. Notice notice how that feels, and gently raise it up to your comfort level. And we're going to do that again, dropping the head and lifting up. Now come to somewhere in between those two extremes and find a place that's neutral and hang out here. Now without forcefully pressing the shoulder blades away, notice what you can do to find a little more length between your shoulders and your ears. So finding more space in the neck. Deep breaths. And then slowly lower the knees down to the ground. Come on back to child's pose. Now the head may or may not come all the way to the floor. If not, feel free to throw a block underneath to support your head, or you might make your hands into fists, stack them on top of each other. Now you have something to rest on. But if your forehead can come all the way to the ground, feel free to wrap the arms alongside the legs to release the shoulders as you relax down. Gently rock the hips side to side if that feels good to do. Let's take one more breath here. Slowly place your hands underneath the shoulders and make your way up. Might feel good to just give your shoulders a roll back and forward. So that was your downward facing dog. And again, there are many ways to do a pose. Hopefully I gave you some ideas as to how you might incorporate different ways to experience your downward facing dog. So until next time, namaste.